LCDN television broadcasts 24/7 on UK Freeview Channel 271, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, Apple TV, Google TV, C Love World, LCDNTV.com, LifeComTV.com.
Good evening and welcome to another Conversations with Lydia. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Those of you who listen on my podcast called Conversations with Lydia, if you just Google my name. Apologies that we ran a little bit late today, but it was just beyond due to technical difficulties. But this evening, moving on, we've got a young lady who's going to share her journey. We know we celebrated Sickle Cell Day last Saturday. And we're just reminding people of what sickle cell is, how we can help, how it impacts lives. So join me as I welcome Temitope.
Hi.
Good evening, Timmy. Thank you for joining. Okay, I'm going to just ask you to talk a little bit about yourself before we begin to talk about sickle cell.
Okay.
Go.
Should I go ahead?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So my name is Temitope Abass. I'm the first child out of three. I have a stepbrother, and my parents are, I will not say wealthy, but they are middle class, Nigeria. And I'm a student presently studying geography and regional planning at Lagos State University, LASU. I am also an entrepreneur. I run an accessory line and fashion brand. Yeah, what else? I'm a serial volunteer. I volunteer with different non-profits. Basically, those are focused on sickle cell and some of that NGO about that. I'm also interested in goals, sustainable goals, and advocacy and everything else.
Okay, great. Why geography and town planning?
Okay, so when I was in secondary school, there was this notion about geography being boring. So I think it was in our SS1. We had this very boring teacher actually. But in our SS2, we had this very, very bright female teacher that took us geography, and she just made me fall in love with geography as a subject. So I wanted to do more, even though my parents did not allow me at the initial stage. They wanted me to study science, a medical course. So I had to do my ND in SLT, Science Laboratory Technology. But I wasn't satisfied until I just wanted to study geography, study the world, travel to places, tourism and a lot of other things. So that was how I got interested in geography.
Okay, so you were inspired by a teacher.
Yes.
And we hear this thing a lot about parents almost wanting to chat, their children's lives by wanting them to study specific things. Why do you think that is?
Okay, so to the best of my understanding, my parents, my dad actually feels like if I studied a medical course, because I live with a health challenge, I can be able to, take care of myself better. I can be able to be self-established. We have a lot of medical laboratories today that just have license from the government. So I think that was his own idea, but he forgot to think about my own satisfaction, my own joy, my own initial, interest as a person. So sometimes they're just being protective and everything. So I understood what where it
Okay.
was coming from.
So he wanted you to have, I guess, some real understanding about how what your disease was about, how to manage it, if there wasn't anybody medical around you. And then, of course, I think in developing countries, those sort of careers we usually believe will help somebody financially. So there'll always be a job, you know, for
Yeah.
somebody who has some basic sciences or a degree in science. And I understand from what you were saying that you would have been a lab technician.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So no interest in science anymore.
Just volunteering with the course anyway. I finished through my ND and I have my degree. So I volunteer in the lab in one of my NGOs. Just that.
Okay.
No
So that's
interest.
it. That's it. No
Yes.
medicine for you. Okay. All right. Tell us, when did you know that you were unwell? Do you remember? Or when
My
did you
parents found
first
out
get, maybe diagnosed is a better way of asking the question.
at
When did you
age
first
one and a half
get?
or age two, actually. Age two.
Okay, so
Age
you were
two
about 2 years
turning.
old, so quite early on
Yes.
in life. So what have you heard the stories? Did your parents ever share the story with you? How they discovered that you had. Okay, so
My mom
share with us.
initially.
Mhm.
Okay, so initially I was born. I was the first child, so they were excited to have me. Young couples.
Mhm.
But I think that when I was 1 plus, I fell ill. I collapsed while having my breakfast. So while I was growing up, I had a routine breakfast, which was boiled egg and tea, Milo and milk, a
Mhm.
cup of tea every morning before any other thing. So I think that morning while I was having that meal, before she got to the hospital, to the children ward, the doctor was like, this child is fine. I woke up and I was fine, and she was like, so we should take her back home. Yes, take her back home. She's doing well. But I think months afterwards, the same thing happened again. And this time when I was holding onto my kneecap, I was screaming of pain. I couldn't say pain, but I was just crying as a child, holding onto that part. So on getting to the hospital, there was a test requested to be done, genotype test to be done, and then found out I was living with sickle cell. And since then, it's
Okay. So that must have been difficult for them to hear, because all the excitement of this new baby um, now actually diagnosed with a life-threatening, because it can be life-threatening, sickle
yes.
cell. Okay. I know that there are different variations of it. Yeah. So where are you on the spectrum or on the scale?
SS, the most common one
The
of it.
most common one. Okay. I know some. And then what happens? What happens when somebody's having a crisis, or they are unwell?
Okay, so for yours.
Okay. I said, what happens when you have a crisis? What happens?
Okay, so I said by um scripts, like we have over research, it's been noted that the HBSS, which is mine, we fall into crisis more often than other variants. But I've related myself with a lot of other variants like the SC, like the thalassemia, and I don't think that is confirmed because it's determined by your own body system as a person. Sometimes I
Okay.
can cope in a very hot temperature, while somebody else who's also same SS as myself cannot cope in that temperature. So it's not really about the variation of your genotype, of the sickle cell genotype, that matters. It's just about your body system as a person. But for me, I think I felt ill more often as a child when I was growing up. The crisis was more often, I remember during school then, when I was in primary school, my primary school had a sick bay. So I was always, leaving classes sometimes to go to the sick bay to just rest. I'm overwhelmed, tired, exhausted, and things like that. And I had more hospital admission as a child than now that I'm now an adult.
Okay. So, I had asked the questions like, where do you fit on the scale or on the variant? And you said, oh, I'm one of the people who should have a lot of crisis. But from
More
what you're
crisis.
saying is that even though you are there, it doesn't mean that you're going to have more than somebody else who's in a different category of the illness. It just depends on how your body manages the temperature, the climate, how it manages food, how, if you're feeling run down or not so run down. Yeah, something like that. Okay.
Yes.
So did you miss a lot of school or not?
Okay, I would not say I miss a lot of school. I did not really miss school, even in secondary school. But I might be ill like a night before school. And then because I have a younger sister who our age difference is not so much. So we're always in the same academical calendar. Like if I'm in primary 4, she's in primary 2. So the distance between us is not always much. So each time I fall, probably I get weak or I have pain at night at home, my parents would make sure they run home, what's it called, home
Classes.
remedies, like
Okay, home remedies. Go on.
home remedies, like just keep me warm, use my routine drug, so before the morning for school, I get better and I go to school with my sister. I always want to go to school with her because I don't want to be at home alone. So most times I wouldn't say I missed school, but I knew that there was something that causes me that I might want to miss school sometimes.
Okay. Yeah, because I've known people who actually missed quite big periods in the school year where they would be ill for a long time. So did it affect you? But you're saying you were able to have normal school years. So what about sports?
Yes.
Was sports a challenge?
Yes, it was. Okay, I would not say it was. Maybe if my parents had allowed me, sometimes our parents are being overprotective and then they make us miss out on some things, I would cite an example when I was in secondary school, when I was picked to be part of the this karate training. Yeah, so I was picked to be one of them. Yes. So I had the training for the first day and second day, and I came down with a crisis, the pain from the movement and everything. So instead of my mom to just try to see how she can help me manage, okay, if I would, maybe I would take the training maybe twice a week instead of every day like every other child because of my health condition. She went to school and told them to totally take my name off the list. Like my name was off the list, and yes, it felt like she was trying to protect me from having, pain episode and everything. But I felt like if she had left me then, maybe I would know how to. I'll have learned
You would
self-defense
have
and
left
some other
some
things
control.
during that time.
Yeah.
Yes, but
So,
so for sports, yes, I missed out on sports because of that. And the only thing I could do during secondary school was match pass, match parade, matching, nothing else.
so in her being protective, you were sort of taken out of playing any or being part of any kind of rigorous
What do you say,
sporting.
ma?
I said so because of her being protective over you, you are now taking out of all the sports activities you could have
Yes,
taken
yes.
part
Because
of.
teachers in school knew.
So when I guess your parents knew when you were about 2, yeah. When did you know? When did you sort of understand it? When did it click for you that you had this health challenge?
Okay, I think it was during my primary school when I was still young, thereabouts, because I knew that I would always take my drugs at
Mhm.
night or in the morning, and I would, it was a routine thing, it was a daily thing. My mom was always on my neck to take my drugs, and when every other child is doing four, I'll
Mhm.
be asked to do just two or one and a half. When this thing, so she explained to me, and that I'm not like every other person. I have sickle cell, and so I have to limit myself to playing. Even playing
Mhm.
in school, there's limits. My primary school teachers would just scream my name, like, okay, get inside, you've had enough of today's play.
Mhm.
So I knew along the line while I was growing up through the care and everything that was given to me.
Mhm. So the what you're saying is that everybody put limitations around what you could do to keep you safe.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So how did that feel for you? How because you're a little girl who wants to play, skip, dance, whatever it is that little girls enjoy, run around in school. And then how was that for you, especially the fact that you had to take medication and you had obviously younger siblings who didn't have your the sickle cell trait, yeah, the sickle cell disorder, not the trait, sorry. Hmm. So
Okay,
did you
so
feel different?
I didn't really feel anything. I didn't really feel anything. Just that there were some times that it was too extra, and I'm just like, what is it? But I liked the feeling. There was so much pampering, and there was so much. I wouldn't say too much pampering because I still had to do my house chores. I still had to learn through every other thing that was done in the house. But it was a good feeling because I knew that I had the backing of some people. I remember when I was in secondary school, something happened between my classmates and I just didn't want to drag it because I didn't even have the strength to drag it because I was exhausted. But my sister came into the picture and she lavished the person, she spoke her mind to the person that the person should never treat me in that way. And so I feel like the fact that she understood the health issue was she was able to step in. So for me it was okay. Just that there were
Hmm.
some days that it was extreme.
Okay, so it sounds like, I mean, you were held well in your childhood and going through school. Your teachers were informed and they looked out for you. So was it different in university? Was it any different? How did you manage uni?
In the university, when I got to Yabatech, I'll use my experience in Yabatech as example. So I didn't tell anybody, not even a single lecturer. And then my parents felt like, okay, you are grown already. I think I was about 19 or 18 then. I was grown already, so I could be able to know when to stop this, when to limit myself from this. And I actually went to school from home
Okay, so
every day, except
you didn't stay in uni. You didn't go went in dorms.
yeah, except during exams that I had to stay on campus with my friends to read. But now that I'm in LASU, it's different because I think few of my classmates know already. Because now that I'm an advocate, I push it everywhere. I'm always posting, so it's not something I can hide anymore. It was during my ND days, I wasn't really interested in conversation. I was just there, so nobody knew except from two of my friends that were very very close to me that knew then. So
So
it
why
was
did you
normal.
choose not to share? Was there a reason
Why
that
did
you chose?
I?
Why did you choose not to tell anybody when you were in your doing
Maybe
your
because
first degree?
I was quite. I wouldn't say I was uninterested, but
Mhm.
I didn't have the platform to be interested to express myself about it. I felt like since I'm fine, I'm good. There's nothing to discuss about it, or maybe I didn't know better. Maybe I didn't know better. Maybe there was just nothing to get me talking about it. And
Mhm.
I really
Oh,
felt, I really felt sick during those times.
were you unwell when were you unwell in that time that you're
No, I
doing your
was fine.
you were
Even though
fine?
I was unwell, because I went from home every day. So the days I couldn't go from home, the day I would miss school, I just feel like
Mhm.
I didn't feel like coming to school. I wouldn't explain to anybody why I didn't come to school or
Okay,
anything.
because you were now in technical in polytechnic, we call it in the in the UK. So you didn't have to sort of give an excuse not to be in school. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about the treatment and I guess the hospitals and the facilities that is available to somebody in Nigeria. How is that?
Okay, so I would say it's getting better. It's better every day. I remember when I was younger, I had I was in crisis and I was in a private hospital, and there was this eating pad that helped me subsidize my pain faster. I don't know, I can't remember what it looks like anymore. But I know that when I placed it on a particular part that I had the pain, it would just make me fall asleep and the pain will be relieving. But at that time, I'm not sure they had that in the government hospital. I'm not sure they had such facility. But looking at then and now, it has gotten better a whole lot, like a whole lot. People can even testify to it. But you know, as much as it gets better, the rates, the bills to these things increase over time. So I think that the best thing is management, which is taking your drugs and preventing yourself. Because once you find yourself in the fall of a hospital in Nigeria, you just have to make do with whatever they have. But
Okay.
in all
So
honesty,
when you say,
it's been better.
go on, finish. It's better for you to stay to look after yourself so you don't get to the crisis stage. That's what you're saying. Okay. So
Yes.
is it possible to look after yourself not to induce a crisis, or it can be actually out of your control?
Okay, so the thing is, that this body does not tell us when it's going to fall into crisis. It doesn't, honestly, because this minute you are healthy, you're fine, you're alive, you're moving, and then the next minute there's a trigger that causes you to fall into a pain episode. So it's not like the management is an 100% guaranteed. So the thing is understanding our body system as much as it's not predictable. I can't put a lie out here, but the management is still a better option. And then, like I said, the body does not tell us when it wants to break down. Sometimes you are fine in the morning, and then in the evening you just catch a little flu and you are down, totally down. You can't control things, it's out of control. So sickle cell is really, really, really an unpredictable disorder. So that's just it.
Okay. All right. I wanted to ask a bit about the medication, but do you want to tell us a bit? We've been talking about the crisis because we're assuming everybody that is watching us. We know that sickle cell disorder is a blood disorder. Yeah. So do you want to explain a bit about what a crisis is and how it, if you can, how it feels?
Okay, so like you said, sickle cell is a genetic blood disorder that affects the red blood cells. Now, every other person's red blood cells is circular, is round in shape, like a disc, and it's flexible. It can bend. It can, go through the blood vessels without obstruction. But unlike we, person living with sickle cell, once our red blood cells break down, they are sickled in shape. They are sickled in shape, and they lack oxygen. They are tough. They are rigid. They cannot bend. They are not flexible. They have rough edges, which is causing them to, once they try to flow through the blood, through the vessels, through our veins and our blood vessels, they break down. They break down. They cause obstruction, which restricts them from moving blood from a point where it is needed to the other point. So in a case whereby, okay, let me use my hand as an example now. Now blood is trying to flow from here to this joint, and unfortunately there's already clogged sickle cells at this particular part of my hand within the blood vessel. Trying to move in, it's not possible, and this part needs blood, but it's clogged and they are sickled. So this particular point in which the blood is clogged and cannot move to this joint, I begin to feel pain here. And this part also suffers it because this part needs blood, but it can't get blood at the time. So this is having pain. This also can become swollen because of lack of blood. So a lot of time, that's why we always advise take a lot of water, take your routine drugs to help you build up on red blood cells. And some things can trigger some things like cold, like a flu, like hot temperature. For me now, I can cope in a cold temperature very, very well. But once temperature is hot, I can't cope. I'll definitely break down, and causing the red blood cells to begin to break down unnecessarily, break down unusually, and then there's lack of blood in some particular part of my body, and then it's
Blood.
pain.
So thank you. On average, because you've mentioned this taking medication quite frequently. So what do you take every day? What do you take regularly?
Okay, so my routine drugs are folic acid, vitamin B complex. I use a supplement, Jobelin. It helps to build up the immune system. I also take histamine. It helps to histamine is a multivitamin, so it helps. The folic acid is the major thing that helps to build red blood cells. So it's advised that we do not skip our folic acid. And our B complex helps with other vitamins. It's vitamin B complex. It comprises all the vitamin B, like B12, B9. So that's it. And paludrin, and it's an anti-malaria, but I really take mine.
So actually, what you take are a lot of health, like vitamins to help your immune system, to help your blood flow, make sure that your immune system is not compromised. And you've sort of studied yourself, knowing that you can manage when it's not hot, but when it's really hot, it impacts you. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So
I didn't get that.
what
Sorry.
made I was just saying that your medication is mainly what you take mainly is to help build your immune system, as opposed to medicine that you're taking.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So what I was saying is that everybody who suffers the disorder should have supplements that they take, should know how to read their body signs. Know, like you gave us the example that if it's cold or cold, your body is able to manage it, but when it gets quite hot or warm, then your body isn't as good to manage it. Okay. So when did you decide to begin to speak and to advocate? At what point did you decide that?
Okay, I think it's about 4 years ago now when I joined an NGO. I joined as a beneficiary actually, and I was inspired by what they were doing, catering for sickle cell warriors, routine drugs absolutely free every month. So I was actually inspired, like I don't have any reason not to help do something, because as much as sickle cell has affected every other person, every one of us, some of us are more opportune, more privileged to have it affect us less than it has affected another person. So I was inspired by what they were doing, and I just had to step in and give back my quota. And then I realized that I can't just volunteer alone. I have to speak up, because less people are aware about sickle cell and genotype and the like. So I had to just be a voice in my own little space, and that was what inspired it.
Okay, so somebody set up that the organization. Was it set up by somebody who was suffering from sickle cell, or was it set up by somebody? Okay, so the person who started that charity does suffer with the illness, with the blood disorder. And then you thought, okay, I also can contribute in one way. So how do you contribute? What do you do?
Okay, so I volunteer with the organization, and we'll be having a program on that's tomorrow in a school to speak to teenagers in secondary school about sickle cell. It's a
Mhm.
catch them young kind of event. So I'm going to be there tomorrow. We run different programs. We have a youth-based club. I also help out there. Um, I work in the lab there. I work in the pharmacy unit sometimes. I also help inspire younger um, people living with sickle cell that what you can be everything. Sickle cell is not supposed to limit us to anything. So I think that's quite. I run a podcast too, although I've been inconsistent this year because of school stress, and I had a little hiccup with my health, so I was taking a break. I was trying not to overwhelm myself with too much
Mhm.
demanding for myself, so I had to just take a break from the podcast. But I run a podcast also that I share little things about sickle cell also. So that's basically it.
Okay, so quite a lot. So the youth, and the youth, is it for young people who are suffering with the disease?
Yes.
When, yeah, uh-huh. And then when you go into the school, what are you doing? Are you advocating? Are you just educating them,
Okay, the
saying
program
this?
tomorrow. It's for all the
Hmm.
students, young
Okay.
people. They are still young. And something that we lacked was that our generation did not understand genotype so well in secondary school. We just had the chart of the A and the S coming together, and that was all that was explained to us. But we want to have deep conversations about health and sickle cell and how you can be a change agent, saying that because Nigeria has the highest number of persons living with sickle cell, we want to reduce that number, if not eradicate it totally, reduce the number to a significant level. And so we're going to educate them on sickle cell, educate them on genotype awareness, and that's
Okay. All right. I'm going to ask you a question which I've asked people who've been on before. Um, when you go into the schools to educate, are you saying to them, know your blood type? Please don't marry somebody else who's got the trait as well. Or what's your stance on that?
okay. So before advocacy, I used to have the mindset that what, don't marry somebody you're not compatible with. It's wrong. It's totally bad. But we are humans and we have rights. But if we help them to understand what sickle cell actually is about and the complications that arise with it, the the things that sickle cell have caused, and how we can prevent them as a group of people. Maybe that would give them an understanding that, okay, instead of having this child with sickle cell and go through all the stress, why can't I just find a compatible partner and just have a child that I do not have to stress? You understand? So the thing for us is advocacy, explaining the basis of sickle cell and why we should break the sickle cycle. So if they understand that, that is enough to motivate them to either go ahead and marry who is not compatible with them or who's compatible with them.
Okay, so it's about giving information so that people are making a more educated choice
It
about
is.
who they marry. Okay. So do you have any
Yes.
other siblings in your family who suffer from
No, just me.
from okay, so you were the first, and you you were the
Yes.
trailblazer. We won't but I mean, we believe that if
What do you say, ma?
everything happens. I said you were the first, the trailblazer in the family. So, but we believe that everything that happens for a purpose, and it sounds like you are fulfilling
Yes.
yours with the advocacy and the speaking up. So, is there
Thank you, ma.
anything else about it that we haven't covered? I know we celebrated sickle
What
cell.
sickle cell do?
Yes, on Saturday. It was on Saturday. So
Yes.
how do you how was that for you? Do you link up with other organizations? Do you link up with the rest of the world? How did Nigeria celebrate it?
Okay, I think for Nigeria, it was just a day celebration. They had series of advocates, NGO founders on sickle cell. They were live on air, speaking about the journey so far and how they needed the government to step into things to help ease the burden of non-profits. So for our organization, for Enjoy Volunteer Week, it was a very busy day for us. It happens to be one of our clinic days. I said we run clinic monthly, so it was coincidental with
Mhm.
our clinic, and it was a very busy day. We had a lot of beneficiaries coming for drugs consultation. We had TVs come around to see what we're doing, interviewed some of us, and we just had to speak up on how there's little or nothing we can do as organizations except the government steps in to actually create policies to help better the life of person living with sickle cell, and that was just it for us.
Okay. All right. So a busy day, but in between routine as usual, because the needs of the people have to be met, and trying to
Yeah.
continue to bring the government into having conversation on how they can help
Yes.
improve lives. Okay. So what else is there to you before we close?
I just like to share that, um, I'm sure we have viewers, and one or two persons have met with somebody who lives with sickle cell, and either you've had an interaction with them or not. Sickle cell is not a death sentence. One thing I want you to know, it's not a death sentence. And to those that are living with the condition, they did not ask to be born with this disorder, with this disease. We did not ask to be born with it. So as much as we are crying out for genotype awareness, genotype, we also want you to understand that it is not a good one to stigmatize against person living with sickle cell disorder, either at the workplace, either at your home, your environment, as a classmate, a classmate. You just need to understand that all you have to be is to just be a nice person to them, and that is it. They were not asked to be born with this disorder. And just in case you find those who have been physically physically, how do I put the word, affected by sickle cell, maybe they have hip issues, they're limping maybe through one surgery or the other. It's really not. It's not that bad as it looks on the surface. It's not that bad. Not that bad. Sickle cell warriors can walk. They are productive. They are, industrious. We have a lot of entrepreneurs among us. They are smart people, and that's just it. That's just what I want to say to people listening.
Okay. So despite what I guess what you're saying is despite all the challenges that a sickle cell warrior might experience, it sounds like they're all very bold and want to enjoy life to the fullest.
Yes.
And I think I guess what you're saying is that a lot of times we can over empathize. We can maybe want to treat, people like you differently, but
Yeah.
the idea is that you're just like all of us. You're just managing a health challenge. Okay. So what's your accessory and business, your, your fashion line? What is it?
Okay, so I'm into fabrics. I love clothing a lot. I wanted to sew. I wanted to learn tailoring actually at the time. And then I applied, but while trying to sew some samples and practice, I had a swollen feet. And that was the end of it. My parents would not even my dad would not even allow me continue the journey because it feels like no, this is not good for you. So actually ventured into fabrics since I cannot sew. I like, shopping for fabrics, and so that's what I do. Fabrics and clothing accessories. And then for the accessory line, earrings, knuckle rings, brooches, whatever complements an outfit. I love fashion, and that's just it.
So the town planner, geography, fashionista,
Yes.
sickle cell warrior, advocate. We celebrate you.
Thank you very much, Ma.
And you've told us not to just to keep encouraging people who are sickle cell warriors. You're just like us. It's not a life or a death sentence. You're able to live full, productive lives. So where can people find you? Where can young people find you?
Okay, you can find me on social media at Grace John Key. Just type in Temitope Abass. I think my name will pop up. Yes, that's my name. But my user ID on Instagram is at Grace John Key 10. On Facebook at Temi Abass, Themmy Abass. Yeah. Twitter is banned in Nigeria for now, so I can't share my handle because I don't know if I'm going to get back on Twitter.
Yes, I'm sure everybody is working on getting Twitter back. It is. Okay, thank you. Thank you for your time. We've
Thank you for having me.
come on to the. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma.
What a wonderful, spirited young lady talking about her journey, what it feels like, what it means to her, why she's advocating, and giving us information how to manage the sickle cell disorder. Till we meet again next week, take care. My name is Lydia Khalil, and this is Conversations with Lydia. Thank you for watching or listening.
LCBN television broadcasts 24/7 on UK Freeview Channel 271, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, Apple TV, Google TV, CELLon, LCBNTV.com, LifeComTV.com.